Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 3. This is episode 6. I am Michael Hoyp. I'm joined tonight, as always, by Flint Espel. Say hi, Flint.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so tonight we have two matches of pre-modern Magic, and we will start things off with James Smits up against Tom Metelsky, and then our second match of the night will be John Grudzina against Brian Durkin. So I'm going to go over to our band screen. This will show the three decks that each of these players has brought to the Premodern Showdown series. One of them has been banned, so they have to pick one of their remaining two to play tonight. James has brought Blueback Stiflenaught, five color Sligh, and the Star Spangled Slaughter deck. His Blueback Stiflenaught deck is banned tonight. Tom has brought Goblins, Psychotog, and the Devourer Combo deck. His Psychotog deck is banned. So, Flint, I guess we're making this a tradition. Give us a quick guess on what you think James and Tom will be bringing tonight.
Oh man, this is this is rough because we've seen goblins trounce the red, white, and blue deck, and I really want to see Sly. So I think he's probably going to pick the red, white, and blue deck, but I think he should play Sly
Okay.
because I want to see that deck. But I think he's probably going to go with red, white, and blue.
And what do you think Tom is playing?
Um, I think Tom is probably going to go with goblins.
Okay. So let's go over the decks. We'll see how Flint does with his prediction. And first up, we have James is playing the five color Sly deck. So
Oh, sweet.
Flint's wrong, but he's still happy about it. Okay,
Story
so
of my life.
yes. So let's talk about this deck. Uh, it's not your average Sly deck. Can you tell everyone, uh, I guess, shortly what normal Sly is and then how this deck is different?
Sure. So normal Sly is your standard mono red deck with lots of burn spells, Jackal Pups, Mog Fanatics, Grim Lavamancers, and Ball Lightnings for some sustained damage, along with some sustained damage from Cursed Scroll and Sulfuric Vortex. The most recent iterations, all Aaron Dix are running Urza's Baubles as well to cut out some of the fluff and add more cards to the graveyard. James's take is a little bit different, as you can see. So he's added an Enlightened Tutor package, and he uses that package to get answers to very specific decks. So Plague for Tribal, Sylvan Library against Control, Scylla Cleansing against enchantments, which white enchantments are the bane of most Sly decks. So being able to stop in Ivory Mask or a COP red is really, really important. To stand still for some card advantage once he gets down a couple early threats. And then the Mox Diamond kind of smooths out all of these draws. The only other big change is he runs Fire Ice, which is actually a very good card in the meta right now, just given all of the creature decks running around. And then he's got some enchantment answers from the sideboard that sort of lean into one of those enlightened tutor strategies a little more heavily, along with your classic blast package, as well as some disenchants. So really interesting take. I love this stack. I've been wanting to see it more, and I'm happy to see it tonight.
Okay, and that leaves us with the deck that Tom is playing, and he will be piloting the Devourer Combo deck. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this, this is something that was brought into the pre-modern scene a couple years ago now, but it's an A plus B combo, and the A part is Phyrexian Devourer, which it either will be cast for 6 mana or brought out by Tinker, and then the B part of the combo is Phyrexian Altar. Is that the no Altar of Dementia? Sorry, Altar of Dementia or
There it is.
Fling. So Altar of Dementia also could be tinkered out, but is a 2 mana artifact that will mill cards equal to the power of the sacrificed creature. Fling deals damage equal to the sacrificed power of the creature, and the Devourer has the ability to grow to a point. Once it has an ability of or a triggered ability of once it has 7 or more power, you're gonna have to sacrifice it, but you're still able to exile cards off the top of your library to grow it. So you're able to get to the point of where it's big enough to either mill all the cards from your opponent's library or bigger than 20 to just kill them in one shot. So it's a really streamlined combo deck, and the other cards that are supported, the supporting cast, either draw cards or kind of disrupt the opponent or accelerate you. So it's really streamlined and just really looking to do its one thing. So how do these decks line up? So I'll go over to the key card screen and we can talk about a little bit. So the 5-color Sligh is significantly different than a typical Sligh deck because I think in general the Devourer Combo deck has a very good matchup in game 1 against Sligh because it is just a little bit faster. I think that actually might be different given the choices that James had with his deck building. So a card like Engineered Plague, if you name construct or one of the creature types of the Phyrexian Devourer, I don't think it's possible for Tom to win. So there's only one copy of Engineered Plague in the main deck, but there are 4 copies of Enlightened Tutor, and I guess he doesn't know exactly what he's up against, but he'll figure it out pretty quickly. And this card could just be lights out for Tom in game 1. And there's 2 more copies in the sideboard, and while there are a few ways for Tom to deal with it, it doesn't get a lot easier. So I think this card is very high on James' list once he realizes what he's playing against. And that's why I've shown also the Enlightened Tutor. There's 4 copies of this. It serves as a way to get Engineered Plague, but then also can get some other cards like Seal of Cleansing is probably the one that I would think most situations, other than the Plague, he might have to get a Seal of Cleansing. So I think these cards are elements that are not normally in Sligh, and I think they will be very important in tonight's matchup. Looking from Tom's perspective, a card like Tinker is really powerful because it allows you to combo faster. The Devourer is 6 mana, and while you can accelerate it out with cards like Crystal Vein or City of Traders or Ancient Tomb, just Tinker is just the easiest way to just put it into play. So I think that is a card he'll be looking for. And then a sideboarded card is the Rushing River, and that is his one solution to a resolved Engineered Plague. Unless I'm missing something, there were 3 copies in the sideboard, so these will definitely be coming in, and I think Tom will need to have this card in his mind because he has to anticipate a card like Engineered Plague coming down. Is there anything you want to add, Flint?
Incisive synopsis as always, Michael. I think we're good.
Okay, well, let the players know that we can get started, and let's play some Premodern. Okay, so we have James on the left with the 5-color Sligh, and then Tom on the right with Devourer, and Tom is on the play. So memory serve me correctly? Is that where we're at?
I actually wasn't paying attention when they did the
I think Tom did win the die roll. So if you want to give a little bit of play-by-play, I am going to set up a poll for our viewers to predict who will win this match.
Well, as you set that up, Tom plays a turn 1 Ancient Tomb, Altar of Dementia. So in theory, very good play. Access to 3 mana next turn. If he has a 0 casting cost artifact, he could potentially just win on the spot. Let's see what James does here. So obviously he knows what Tom is on. We do see a diamond and a mountain. So he's discarding a gemstone. He really needs to play an Engineered Plague next turn. So he's got to hope that he's got a tutor in hand and that Tom doesn't kill him next turn. If Tom can't win next turn and James has a tutor, then James, in theory, wins this game, assuming he has another mana source.
Okay. So really accelerated game, at least potentially. That's where we're at.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he does play the diamond, right? So, and it's open. So, I mean, we can maybe assume with a higher likelihood that he has a tutor.
It's
Either
possible.
way, the jig is up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's more likely, or he's representing it. I don't think it would really change Tom's play, but otherwise, you think it might be more likely that he uses his mana.
So great follow-up from Tom with the Tangle Wire. So that's going to make casting an Engineered Plague much, much more difficult.
So, I mean, James already has 3 permanents in play, so he's not in the worst position.
Not at all, but Tom is able to, you know, in case that James does have the Enlightened Tutor, he's able to stop the play for now of an Engineered Plague. There's the tutor.
Okay. So I mean, I guess there's a possible line of like taking something like Seal Cleansing Okay,
There's the seal.
and that is probably just because it's 1 mana cheaper, and it will give him time. I guess uh, it's possible that James just thinks he doesn't have the luxury to get to 3 mana, and needs the seal to get rid of the altar. So the bring up Seal of Cleansing.
So he is going to upkeep Bolt Tom and then Lavamancer Tom.
Okay.
Wire will resolve and he will draw his seal.
That's a lot of damage, I guess. I guess that Ancient Tomb is helping James out.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, that it's interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, I guess that Grim Lavamancer does pretty well under a Tangle Wire, that it's able to use its ability. So this next spot, there's going to be 3 counters on the Tangle Wire on James's next turn.
Tom could win with a Tinker.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if James, I guess if he has another mana source, then he'll be able to cast the Seal of Cleansing.
Yep.
So I guess it's still a possibility that Tom does have a card like Tinker, since he just is missing the blue source. So he's either, if that's the case, then he's looking for City of Brass, Shivan Reef Island, or Chromatic Sphere. Would Chromatic Sphere could do it this turn. Oh, I guess Tanglewire, I guess, changes that. One, two.
Yeah.
Oh no, because he's only going to tap 2. He'll tap Tanglewire and Altar, so he'll have access to all his mana, right? Or have we already
tap 1 land?
we already moved down to counter? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sphere would not do it here.
He's tapping that Ancient Tomb, so he's taking a little more damage. So there is a sphere. So he's gonna use this blue mana right away.
So he gets the blue, he plays the Ancient Tomb, gets the Tinker, and that should be the game.
Okay.
Wow.
And so
James reveals a seal and an Engineered Plague.
And an Engineered Plague. So James had all the tutor targets, but it wasn't enough. The Tangle Wire bought Tom the turn to get the blue mana, and that was enough to mill James out. I guess also we should talk about that there's a possibility of upkeep kills. If it is going for the mill kill, that you're still able to cast spells during your upkeep. So
yep, exactly.
Activation of Grim Lavamancer or casting of Lightning Bolt, those could come into play in if Tom is going for the Alter Dementia plan. Okay, if you want to talk about sideboarding, I'm going to adjust. It looked like one of the screens of mine was zoomed in a little too much, so I'm going to try and adjust something on my end.
Sounds good. So this is a really interesting decision from James's perspective, because he has a lot of ways to interact with Tom. His blasts are good against the Rushing Rivers and against the Tinkers. Disenchant and Seal are all good against Devourers and Altars. They're a little less good in some circumstances based on the instant speed win with Fling. But still, very much decent cards. I'm less keen on Arcane Lab, but Engineered Plague is also just a must answer card. So I think he absolutely brings in the Engineered Plague. And then he's got to decide to what extent he wants to bring in additional artifact and enchantment hate and the blasts. I mean, in theory, he can just win the game if he has an Engineered Plague with blast backup, to maybe a blast or two to stop a Rushing River. But I haven't played his deck enough to know what he might potentially take out. I mean, if I had to guess, he's probably going to take out some manner of burn, because it's going to be less important and he can just win in the long game with creatures. or vortexes or whatever it might be. He might take out library as well. Um, I don't know. I'll be interested. Standstill's decent, but probably not necessary. Seal of Fire. Um, yeah, JSS King. I think you're right. I think James just really wants to be the control in this matchup, 1,000%, and
Which is
so he
kind of
just wants to bring
a
in all the
very
answers.
it's a very interesting position for the red deck to be in. I'm typically Sligh is not in that role, but I think that he has all the tools to be the control deck. A resolved engineered plague is not quite game because of the rushing rivers, but sets him up for a very good position, and he does have ways to protect it,
I
and he'll probably have pressure too. So
I was gonna say I think I definitely take out the ball lightnings. But we'll see what he does.
yeah, I was looking at Fire Ice. I think might be a card that is the least impactful. Um, just 2 mana, 2 damage isn't enough. So, all right, the sideboard for the Devourer combo. So, Chill is a card that, I mean, it's it's clearly a red deck. That's what a bunch of the cards are, but kind of the cards that you care about aren't red. Enlightened Tutors, Engineered Plague, Seal of Cleansings. I guess Pyroblast is a card that you care about, but it's kind of interesting that Chill. I think you still bring it in, but it doesn't seem as good as it normally would be. And then I would definitely you have to bring in the Rushing Rivers just as a protection against the Engineered Plagues. I don't know if something like Engineered or Ensnaring Bridge comes in. I guess if you're really worried about ball lightning, but it doesn't seem that efficient. It seems like it's hard to get to the point where it's going to prevent Jackal Pups or Mog Fanatics from attacking or Grim Lavamancers or whatnot. So
Yeah, and again, kind of going with what we said earlier, chats, wondering about Crypt, for example. I think Tom really wants to be the beatdown here, right? So he wants to just win as fast as possible. And so I think the Russian Rivers come in and, maybe some manner of Clasm or Shattering Pulse to sort of mitigate um what James is trying to do. But yeah, I don't think he's worried that much about the graveyard or Grim Lavamancer. I think he definitely wants the Russian Rivers and he wants to win as fast as possible. And he's got 2 games now to work with to mulligan really aggressively to try to make that happen.
okay, looks like the players are drawing their opening hands for this next game. So let's jump on over there. I do want to thank Cedrinet Troll for the resubscription that we had at the beginning of the show, and then also has gifted a sub to Albino Turtles. So thank you, Gabe, for your support. All
Looks
right.
like a mulligan here from Tom.
So who do you like in these post-border games? I feel like, I mean, I was almost going to say that I liked James in the first game, and I think it just gets better for him in the other one. So I am going to go with James still to take this match, but maybe I'm
I,
too
I
optimistic.
I'm gonna go with James to take this game, being on the play. And I'm gonna say that the dial definitely moves more toward in James' favor. But I don't think Tom's out of it by any means. I think it's probably still maybe like 60-40, depending on some of the opening hands here in game 3 for James versus Tom. I think his odds are a little better game 2. Game 3 maybe it's 60-40, but
And that is one of the
we'll
things
see.
that I've felt like that I've struggled with when I've played the Devour deck is the sideboarded games when your opponent knows what you're doing and has cards that come in like cards like Null Rod or Engineered Plague are fairly common sideboard cards, and even if they're not like necessarily put in the sideboard to play against the Devour deck, they're very effective cards. And then when your game plan is just so focused around this one thing, if they are able to either have a disruption card and have pressure, or able to have a disruption and protect it, then it's really difficult for the Devour deck to win. So that was the things that I struggled with when I played it, and I think if I were to play the list again, I would have a sideboard that would be less reliant on the combo. I have seen like Goblin Welders, but I think I would try and like have Triskelions in there. Is what if I were trying to do it again. All right, so we're in the match. We have a very explosive turn for James. He has played
Oh my God.
2 Mox Diamonds, and now he's fetching, so he's got 3 minutes. So guessing this is an engineered plague. I don't, unless it's just a ball lightning. But if you're using one,
It's got to
two,
be a
three,
ball
four,
lightning.
five.
He's actually the beatdown. We lied.
All right, engineered plague. What do you think he's naming?
Phyrexian construct?
I would say you can
Just
now
construct.
name Phyrexian, right? That's now a creature type.
Yeah.
So
You could name Phyrexian or construct.
yes, we'll have to ask him which one he opted for. Which would you name?
It looks like he went with construct. That's probably what I would do, but
I would as well. All right. So what does Tom do from this spot?
well, he's got some time, right? James has to start to apply some pressure. So Tom needs to sculpt his hand. He needs to get a Russian River and wait for an opportunity where maybe James taps out and he wins at instant speed because he can Russian River and go for the kill. Or I guess he can't win at instant speed without a Devourer in play. So I think he needs to wait for James to tap out, Russian River, end of turn, then untap, get a Devourer in play, and win from there.
I don't know if you want to let James know, but he should. I mean, he should be at 19 if he fetched, but I don't know if. I guess it's probably not very relevant. We do see the ball lightning, so that card is still in the deck. So a lot of pressure is coming already. We're attacking for 8, and Tom's already down to 10.
Okay, so ball lightning stayed in. Interesting.
Okay, so yeah, and so if Tom is going to Rushing River, he needs to have like Alter Dementia already in play, and I guess the interaction cards that James has are like Seal Cleansing or whatnot, so he doesn't have that on the board. Because if James has a Seal Cleansing, then I think Tom is pretty much not going to be able to do much. I guess if Tom had a bunch of mana, he might be able to have like Tinker plus Fling. I guess that's well, you'd have to Rushing River then Tinker plus Fling. I don't know. That's a lot of sequences that need to happen, but Tom's going to do his best to try and assemble some part of the combo and then also find Rushing River.
Yeah, he's definitely not out of it, right? I mean, he's still in a position where he could end of turn Russian River. He's got that Felwar Stone, right? He's got access to, I guess, red mana for a fling from it, but he probably wants to sack it. We'll see. He's definitely not out of it. Chat, Gabe asks if there's a Wasteland in James's deck. No, there is not. Not with that mana base.
No. I was just looking it up. I wasn't 100% sure, but no, there's no Wasteland.
So Tom casually passing the turn here with a lot of mana open. He's got access to 2, 4, 5, 6. So 3 of that's a Rushing River. And he's got 3 more. He could, end a turn Impulse. What else could he do?
The Fell, he could not end a turn Rushing River and Impulse. The Fellwar Stone only makes red.
It doesn't have blue. Gotcha.
So
now it's going to get a little tricky. We do see a seal. And it's Factor Fiction.
Factor Fiction, yep. Tom has to take a damage.
A precarious 6 life.
Yes. Okay, so the split here we have, or the 5 cards, we have Chromatic Sphere, Mind Stone, Fling, City Brass, and Impulse. Is there anything you're afraid of giving Tom from this?
I mean, the Fling and the Impulse here are the 2 biggest ones, right? Fling is a combo piece, and Impulse helps him dig more. You have to imagine that Tom has at least 1 piece of the combo that's Fling or Devour in his hand, right? If he had an Altar, he'd play it already. So I do like the split of Fling by itself because he probably doesn't have an Altar, but he could already have a Fling. And if that's the case, then Tom easily just discards the Fling and takes the 4 here, which is probably the case. So he probably has a Fling in his hand and maybe a Devourer. The question is whether or not he has the Russian River. So Tom could be pretty close to winning, but he is at 6, so we'll see.
Yeah, I like the split from James that I think
Yeah.
Fling is the most important card, given that I guess I don't know how many cards or how much damage James is going to be able to deal next turn, but you're getting close to the point where that Ancient Tomb is not going to be able to be used. And so things look pretty good, I think, from James' perspective. Because there still is a Seal Cleansing in play. So it needs to be Fling right now. It can't be. So he needs to have Rushing River, a way to get Devourer into play, and then Fling. It can't be Alter Dementia.
Dry Cereal on the edge of their seat.
Yes.
That's how it is when you play against Devourer or some of these combo decks that can just win right on the spot.
Who would you say is the good guy in this matchup?
Neither.
I think Five Color Sligh is different enough to be considered the good guy. I don't know.
I feel like 5-color Sligh is like the bad guy who's going to like good guy reformation school and trying to become a good guy but isn't quite there yet. And Devourer is absolutely a bad guy.
We do have a Tinker here.
Yep.
There's not mana
Oh, for an
floating, right?
altar? I don't think
Right.
so. Oh, blast. Oh, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
because I mean, there's still an Engineer Plug in play, so
Yeah.
Flint is the good guy. Does that make me the bad guy? Oh man.
Oh no. I've never considered you the bad guy, Mike.
I've definitely considered myself the bad guy sometimes, but I'd like to
All right,
myself.
fair
It,
enough.
there was someone commenting on the YouTube channel talking about like lamenting about me playing Oath and saying that goblins are the good guy because I was playing against goblins. I said sometimes you have to be the villain of the story. But
I'm
okay, we
sure
saw
that's true.
the Tinker Pyroblasted, and then the Bolt was enough to finish off Tom since he was at 5. 2 damage from a pup and 3 damage from a Bolt is enough to take
Yeah.
Tom down to 0 and give James the second game.
I mean, a turn 1 engineer play is pretty good. So we'll see how it goes for James on the draw this time, but congrats to James for that game. And we get an exciting game 3. So that's
Yes.
great.
All right, so we did see Pyroblast, and then I mean, I guess the other cards from the sideboard either were already in the main deck, like Engineer Plague and Seal of Cleansing. Oh, I guess there's also Disenchants. I guess I don't know if you talked about those, but I forgot that those were also in options. So yeah, there are just so many cards that James can have to combat what Tom is doing. And yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't fault Tom for not bringing in Chill against this red deck. I think most people will, and I think it's likely that he does. But I can see it being very defensible that it is just it doesn't interact with the cards that matter enough. But
Rich Borg says the Sligh deck isn't running baubles, so Devour auto wins here. What do you think about that, Mike?
I it's sound logic, but I disagree. I guess.
I think Aaron Dix would agree, so
Yeah.
that makes 2 people.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on the chill. I mean, certainly it can delay the game, but the longer this game goes, the worse it gets for Tom. And he really just needs to try to win as quickly as possible. Do any Devourer lists run blue blasts or red blasts? I feel like they'd be more likely to run a red blast than a blue blast, honestly, but just
Yes.
curious.
I don't. There has to be some that do. I mean, but I can't think of lists that do, but I'm sure people have played that card. Like it seems to fit in what you're trying to do. I guess the one thing that it is difficult is like colored mana is just not like a free thing in this deck, and if you're already casting like Tinker, it might be hard to protect with a red spell like Pyroblast. That would probably
Yeah.
be, and I think like Defense Grid is already there to kind of interact with those type of things. But I could see Pyroblast being a card that's played.
I let them know that they can go ahead and start game 3 when they're ready. It looks like Tom's taking a peek at his hand right now.
Okay. So Tom's either looking for a super fast start or something with like a little bit of disruption that would be in Tangle Wire, or he
Yep.
needs a Rushing River, or like a likely way to dig for it with either Impulse or Factor Fiction. So here we see Island into Chromatic Sphere.
All right. Which set is that island from? I'm usually pretty good at picking them out, but I don't know that one.
It's weird. Like the frame looks like it's like an Odyssey one, but the art does not look familiar. I wonder if it's altered in any way. It's a Euro Island.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. All right. We're going to see our old friend, the Jackal Pup here. What are you thinking? Sacks immediately.
The pups, what's up? Oh no, brought up the wrong Chromatic Sphere.
That one is actually nostalgic for me as well. I was playing back then when Mirrodin came out in Dark still.
Yeah, that
So I
was
actually like it.
just about when I started getting competitive. I know as a young boy, I put together Affinity and then never played it in a tournament.
As a young pup himself, the
Yes.
Cloud Goat Ranger. I
So
refused to play it, and I tried everything else against it and just constantly lost.
we did see a the fetch that James did on turn one. He didn't use that red mana, right?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Maybe he has more lands in his hand, and he's just trying to thin things out.
He's just trying to play faster. All right, we do see a chill. It's cold in here.
Brrr.
All right, so the red spells will cost additional 2. That does impact Tom if he's going for the fling route. So, what color is Engineered Plague?
What color is Engineered Plague?
Yeah.
Purple.
Oh. It's black, so not affected by chills. So James happily slams it on the table on turn 3.
Well, a nice Russian River here would take care of both of those pesky enchantments.
That's true, but if you're bouncing both, you're losing a land.
But there's no pressure, right? So he's got time.
Yeah, but if you're bouncing it, then James will just be able to play it again. Like,
Right. So I'm saying he has time to draw into a Rushing River, get rid of them, and then win.
all right, here we see that's a Tangle Wire.
Good.
Can't tap enchantments with the Tangle Wire, so
It's confirmed enchantment battle, a la our good friend MTG Banding.
all right. Andrew would be proud. Is Andrew watching?
Andrew, if you're out there, this is for you.
All right, we see the Seal of Cleansing used on the Tangle Wire, so James would like to have access to his mana. He doesn't want to take damage from a City of Brass being tapped from Tangle Wire.
Precisely.
Confirmed that Engineer Plague has 0 chill. All right, so James has 4 mana, which is quite a lot for his deck. He doesn't have like that many lands, so I don't know how many cards are in his hand. I guess like he just wants. Well, I guess Ball Lightning would be fine, but I was to say Jackal Pup. Oh yeah, it's a 3 mana Jackal Pup. I see 3 mana getting tapped. All right, it is a Jackal Pup.
Smallest Ball Lightning I've ever seen.
Yeah, this Ball Lightning is loyal and cute, and he gets to attack
Very
every
cute.
turn. So.
But if you hurt my sweet, sweet Ball Lightning, remember it hurts me too.
Yeah, maybe a Phyrexian Devourer will be flung at a Jackal Pup. Probably not, because I think it risks the chance of James like bolting his pup in response, but it would be a flashy way to win.
I mean, if he's tapped out, does he have Fire Blast?
Yes. I don't think it's a full 4 copies, but I think he has some. I think it's 2 or 3.
I don't see it in his list. I don't think he does.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong with it. No, I don't see it.
Because if he
Okay.
doesn't, yeah, if he, that would be very flashy.
Right, we do see Tinker getting cast.
To
So
kill you and your little dog too.
is this Alter Dementia? Is this Ankle? Is this another chill? That's a Tanglewire that I see. Okay. I mean, so James has the choice of tapping down, and there's an altar. Okay. That's a little scary because now I guess Tom has looks like one card in hand. Uh, so if that makes James probably a little bit nervous. I think he does
Sure.
like it's likely that he has some time because Tom would either need to draw the other. If it's Tinker, then he would need to draw Rushing River, or he needs to have both Rushing River plus Tinker slash Devourer. So, but we see an upkeep to cast the red elemental blast to target the chill. So then James will tap the remainder of his permanents, but there's no longer
Including a City of Brass.
yes, he does
Got him.
take a damage.
Got him.
But the Jackal Pup will not attack this turn. All right. Well, the first two choices for tapping the Tanglewire are easy, since Tanglewire and Alter Dementia still do whatever they want, even when tapped. And then Crystal Vein is the third permanent that Tom taps.
Not the other. Wait,
Third,
not the other Tanglewire? Or is that supposed to be
no,
dead?
there's not. There's only one Tanglewire in play.
Or Chromatic Sphere, I guess. Sorry, it looked
Yep.
like a Tanglewire for a second.
So I did talk about that Tom only had one card in hand at the end of last turn, but he does have a Mind Stone and a Chromatic Sphere, so those can be exchanged for extra cards to dig with. I guess he doesn't have access to red mana, but so maybe you want to keep the Chromatic Sphere around, but I guess he does. He has City Brass, sorry. So I would imagine those are going to get filtered to try and find cards like Factor Fiction or Rushing River or Impulse or whatnot. Okay, so James is going to tap 3 mountains. Now he's going to spend 3 mana. He's going to take 2. Is this a ball lightning now? Okay. It is. Here's an attack for 8. That should bring Tom down to 11. That is a little scarier. I mean, that's a good, very good chunk of Tom's life.
Sure. He's tapped out now, though.
Yep.
I mean, Russian River Tinker here just wins the game. But he only has 2 cards in his hand. What are the odds that Russian River and Tinker?
I don't think that's that high. Um, so James has 2 cards in hand. I guess it's good that he has 6 lands because I normally this slide deck would not want to see that many lands. But I guess
No.
under the Tanglewire, it's worked out that he's been able to cast his spells. But I wonder if that will. I don't think James wants to draw any more lands this game.
Dry Cereal, I think you're right. I mean, I think if he's going to tap out and ball lightning in, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. Tom thinking maybe he'll just play another Tanglewire.
It's a way to slow things down, but I mean, James has enough mana that he'd probably be able to at least attack with a Jackal Pup, or play something that's more important, like a Seal Cleansing. So, uh,
Uh-oh, Tom doing some math here.
So we are at
Yeah,
Tom's turn. Okay, yeah.
we're in Tom's turn. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
tapped his lands, or excuse me, his two permanents.
So here this is 4 mana, so this is a factor fiction.
Yeah,
Oh no, no, it's only 3 mana. This is a
one,
tinker.
two, three.
If you're getting rid of the altar, so that must mean that he is flying in hand, I would think.
But the plague is still in play.
Yeah. Yeah, he might just be getting like another tangle wire, or maybe it's snaring bridge. Okay, here's that's tangle wire, yes.
Yep.
So Tom is using his resources to try and stifle James. I guess it's just trying to hope that it gives him more draw steps, but like from here he needs both. He needs Rushing River, Fling or Alter, and then either Tinker or Devourer. And so he needs a lot of cards. I don't know, like I don't
So do
know.
we?
I feel like you might just need to risk it and hope that you draw a Rushing River. Like I don't know if this Tangle, like sacrificing the Alter. I guess I don't know what's in Tom's hand, but it seems like it's very difficult for Tom to win from this position. Do you agree, or is there something that I'm overlooking?
I mean, my if he's using the Tinker, my guess is he has a Devourer and or a Fling in his hand, and he's just planning to go that route.
Here's a curse scroll, so James did have another land. He also had a Mox Diamond, so there were two more mana sources in his hand. But he tapped all his permanents and then was able to play Curse Scroll still. So
So still these two unknowns in Tom's hand.
all right, so is this an upkeep scroll, or I don't know if there was one card or this is after he drew a card.
I was looking at the chat. I didn't see.
Oh no, it's probably getting tapped to Tanglewire. We're still tapping stuff. All right, 4 permanents.
Yeah, Phil, I think that cracking the Chromatic Sphere is definitely an option, but it's also helping him tap permanents right now to his mini Tangle Wires, and he's about to take his last counter off of one of the Tangle Wires here. So that that helps him tap. So maybe he'll crack in the next couple of turns if he needs to. If it gets dire, he still has some time. He doesn't need to combo off yet.
I mean, he doesn't have that much time. I mean, like, because I mean, I guess he needs to find a lot of things. Is kind of what I'm saying. So like, unless he already has all these things, he doesn't have that many turns.
No, I mean he definitely has a clock here. Oh
Well, I mean,
wow!
that one I don't. It's Rushing River would take care of both of those, so
Sure.
I think it's fine to play it, but it a Rushing River I think is still needed either way. So I guess it would make him sacrifice a land, so that would be the difference.
Both of these have named construct.
If there's a third engineered plague, though, that would be
Well,
problematic.
you know what they say: the third plague's the charm, right?
Yes, that is true. Second plague plays around shared triumph. I don't think that's a card that Tom is playing, but it is an option.
There's the crack.
Okay, so that was the Chromatic Sphere and both of the Mind Stone and the Chromatic Sphere. We're just waiting for Tom to see what he does. Yeah, we do have a Tinker, so this is gonna get. Get rid of the
Impulse.
Tangle Wire with no counters. Oh, that's an impulse? Oh, never mind.
Impulse. Yeah.
That's a lot less exciting. Okay. I guess it could be exciting in the sense that it might be able to find Rushing River, but two standard deviations is I feel like James made this deck to make me sad for playing Devourer all the time. Yeah, maybe like him playing against you enough made him say, I don't want my Sligh deck to lose to the fast combo decks. I want to be able to do something. Yeah, yeah, I know he's your brother, so it seems like a good way to metagame. I mean, like I would metagame against my brother.
Obviously.
My brother would metagame against me. He would play Light of Day against my black deck. That was not very fun. Okay, so two permanents were tapped. It was a mountain and a curse scroll, and we see a ball lightning. This ball lightning should be enough. Is there something I'm missing? Okay, I don't know. Maybe the okay. So James is able to take it down with the hateful engineered plagues, and Tom was unable to find
Oh,
a rushing
wow.
river.
You know, it looks like he had one in his hand. I think he was going to win next turn.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump in to listen to the players.
Okay.
You know, like whatever, like the river can deal with it. So it's like,
yeah, and that's why I knew you were tight on mana. So I was like, I could have played out the ball lightning, and then you have to play around your City of Brass, but I wanted you to have to sack a land to get through both.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I was just like, it was discouraging when I drew both two Devourers. Like, it was,
yeah,
like I drew both. I'm just like, well, this is really frustrating. But yeah, no, post board, it's like, I think you're definitely favored.
I literally brought in 12 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Pretty sick.
so yeah, it works out in my favor, and I just leave out. There's even a world in which you could argue bringing in defense grid, but
yeah,
I mean, this is what I take out. It definitely takes out some of like win con, but I think it's like I'd rather still be around in the circumstance where I can just keep attacking for 2.
yeah. Yeah, so I figured you bring in the Pyroblast. Like, so grid is just like something I can't keep in. Like, you have so many things that deal with my artifacts anyway.
Yeah, game 2 is tough. Like I played out that Jackal Pup, and then, or maybe it was game 3. I played out Jackal Pup when I could have held back on a. Oh, it was game 3, I think, when you had the chill out, and I could have held back and kept a red elemental blast in hand.
Yep.
And then that was the turn that you played Tinker. I'm like, oh, fuck. I guess it didn't hurt me long term because you had to get rid of the altar for the second Tangle Wire to buy time. That's tough. No, I think they're probably listening to us. I guess we can unmute them.
We are always listening.
What's up, guys?
Yep, we're listening.
Oh,
That's
hello.
fine. You guys are doing a
Yes.
good job of just talking about the match, so you can continue.
No, I mean, I think that's. I mean, game 1 had an engineered plague in hand, but the Tangle Wire took me, and then I think that was like, game 1 was what Devourer is supposed to do. And then games 2 and 3, I just, kind of, as on display here, I just bring in a ton, and it helped me. I think that's kind of how it played out. Engineered Plague is obviously very good in this matchup. And then just being able to play around or, beat the Rushing River turn is kind of what it comes down to. Yeah. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah. So I felt like very favored game 1, even though you do have some hate pieces. Like you said, like James actually could have had me locked out the first game, but the Tangle Wire like is what kind of set that up for me to win. And then I got lucky too, drawing the Chromatic Sphere for blue. And what else? I think post board, like it swings heavily in your deck's favor. There's like you said, you had 12 cards, so I even boarded out one of the altars because like I went with the fling. like trying to just bounce into turn. And I know you have so much artifact removal, so it's like trying to just land the Devourer, and then you can't interact at that point, and then trying to win with Fling. It's a difficult matchup. I think it played out pretty tight though, even though I felt like I was behind, but the game was like close.
It's certainly a card. Like if you have the right cards in your hand, then you can just win on the spot. But it's scary. Like I'm sure from James's perspective that he feels like that way. I guess maybe you could have some cards that interact in your hand, but yeah, it's exciting to watch because at any time Tom could just win, even when things look really grim because of the engineered plagues. But
yeah, that was interesting though.
I feel like in both games 2 and 3, like I was a turn ahead. In game 1, you were a turn ahead. So it's very close in that. I mean, maybe game 3 you needed 2 more turns to get the pieces in play, and I was sitting on that ball lightning. I decided to play the second engineered plague instead. But yeah, it's tough. I've played this matchup a lot, luckily, thanks to my brother.
That's what we heard.
Yeah, he was saying chat. We were saying that he probably built this deck just so that he could beat Devourer. So, or you probably built the deck just so you could
like,
beat.
Yeah, because all he does is play combo. I was like, I need a Sligh deck that can beat combo.
Yeah.
So.
I guess that kind of leads into the question that chat was asking, comparing this 5-color Sligh deck to just like a traditional vanilla Sligh deck. What do you think? Like, obviously, it gets better in a matchup kind of like this where you have more interaction things. What do you give up, or like how does it change? Is it better in some cases and worse in the other? Is it just more fun and you think overall it's worse, or like what is your take on this version of Sligh?
I feel like it plays better versus a random meta. But what it gives up is like a turn 4 kill or turn 5 kill, whatever Sligh consistently does these days. I don't know. Depends if you're playing Bauble or not. This deck kills on turn 10, but it can still be around on turn 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it can still deal well with elves. I probably should have played it last week against goblins, honestly, as well. In retrospect, but it gives up speed, right, and consistency of win condition. Like there are definitely moments like that game when you're kind of just waiting around. It's like, do I have something that's going to deal a major source of damage? Because you also lose Fire Blast. I just don't play enough mountains to make that super viable. I used to play Flame Rift, but then Flame Rift basically would just kill myself. So it's just like, and Fire and Ice is a lot better. Yeah, exactly. And Fire Ice is a lot better in the meta. So I think I generally find it to be better versus just like meta, like a random meta. And I think it's better also versus some of these stronger decks, which is why I felt it was perhaps a better choice in this format as well. Okay. That's my 2 cents.
Well, if there's anyone to ask, it's you, because I don't know if I've seen anyone else piloting the 5-color Sligh.
I have to see anyone else play it. No one's stupid enough. Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun, and I mean, the times that you've played it, you've done pretty well with it. So.
Yeah, and it can be pretty consistent as well. Like I think I've definitely played around with the mana base. I've definitely played around with the Enlightened Tutor. I missed Duress in the board, but I decided to go with Disenchant because I wanted the instant speed, which I think is also more useful in a matchup like this. Yeah, it seems to be do well for myself. So who am I to complain? Yeah.
All right, I'll get Tom involved a little bit. So let's go back to the bannings. After the decks that were banned, you had 2 remaining choices. So you had Devourer and Goblins. What was your thought process of bringing Devourer over the Goblins deck?
I think, I don't know. I think I really wanted to play Devourer, sure. But I think I don't know. I had a feeling James was going to bring the 5-color Sligh deck because I think it has a good matchup against Goblins and Devourer. So I thought that's what was going to happen. And I was like, well, like Goblins is like really bad versus like a burn stuff like Sligh deck. So I was like, I think I just have to go on Devourer and try to get lucky, especially game 2 and game 3. It's very difficult for Goblins to beat a burn deck. I've been on the side of both, and it's like not even close in my opinion. Even James, if you're not playing like all of like the Sligh like pieces, like more removal stuff, it's still like, I don't know, just like the Jackal Pup or any removal. I just didn't feel good with Goblins at all. And I felt more comfortable piloting Devourer, so Yeah, it was interesting. I wasn't sure which way to go. It was kind of like week one. I was like probably unfavored for all the matchups, but it was interesting.
James, did you have an incline of what Tom was going to bring?
Um, I did. I mean, I think I know that he likes Devour, because I've seen him pilot a bunch. Um, I did not want to play the Psychotog deck with anything that I had. I think Tom especially plays it well. So I had a feeling I was going against Devour, probably like 75-25. But I thought that this deck had a good matchup against Goblins and a like 60-40 matchup here. So I felt good about it, and I've played this matchup a lot as well, so I kind of felt comfortable in that as well. But yeah, I expected Devour. Of course, I was also had to keep in mind like be prepared for turn one Lackey and like be able to respond to that. But yeah, I think it played out how I expected it to.
Okay.
And I expected my Dreadnought to get banned as well. So
So
I want to give James respect for banning Psychotog. Now I'm glad you respect that.
it's a good deck. It like does
thank
well
you.
against
It is really
like the
good.
decks I have, right?
Yeah. It was getting no love week 1 and 2. Like people were taking a huge risk, but
I do want to ask James. So like in the sideboarding games, you were the control deck. How often does your deck like fit that role that you're bringing on a bunch of sideboard cards and like being more of a controlling deck than your opponent? When traditionally Sligh is just the aggressor.
Yeah. Very consistently.
Okay.
I think especially in this meta, it's going to shift gears into the control deck most times after the board. Yeah, I'm trying to think of matchups of the decks. Maybe I'm trying to think, like maybe if I was playing the Oath Prison deck that a couple folks are on, that's going to be more control-y, and I have to try to be the aggressor there. I'm trying to think what else is out there, but yeah, I think more often than not, I'm going to be a more controlling deck than my opponent.
Yeah, like out of the sideboard games,
post board,
it just feels like a dump truck deck from like back in the days. But like that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like all these cards that came in and it played a different role that I guess maybe that on paper that or the deck name leads to. So really interesting to see.
We still
how
have yet to find a good name for it, but yeah, five color Sligh. It's like Enlightened Tutor needed a win condition, so
sure.
James, we've been over this. It's Enlightened Tutor.
Yeah.
I know
It doesn't roll off the tongue quite. I mean, it's a cute name, but it doesn't flow very well. But
it's genius. You can both go to hell.
All right.
I think we also should note while we're on screen here that we have two of the best hair styles in all of the Premodern Showdown series here with Tom and Flint on display. So I think that's what chat really wants as well. Before we leave,
they're gushing. I can tell.
It's I can see the blushing. It's fun.
All right. Is there anything that either of you want to add before you guys head off?
No,
that's all I got. Thanks, folks. Good match, Tom.
Yeah, good playing, man. Yeah, we'll play.
Yeah, for sure.
Good games, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice night.
All right, I'll bring up our schedule, but I do want to take a moment to talk about the Premodern Super Gauntlet. So this is a project that Mike Arnold has pioneered. He did last year. And what it is 64 Premodern decks are entered into a single elimination tournament. They're piloted by, I think, is it 8 players? 4 of them are in Europe, 4 of them are in the US. But they draft the 8. They each draft 7 decks, I think, 7, and then they submit an 8th as kind of like a creative brew. And these all get thrown into a bracket, and they play a single elimination tournament until we crown like a champion. And so what you can do as a Premodern fan is you can fill out a bracket, and as in chat this should work. I tested it before, but I guess maybe it's not. Let me find a link. I'll get a link. There we go. All right, took Nightbot a second, but you will see the link for the Premodern Super Gauntlet. So what you can do as a fan is fill it out, and you'll predict all the matchups. And it's kind of like a March Madness type thing where you can just have some fun, and then it'll give you a little bit of skin in the game of to watch it, because a lot of these games will be either streamed or recorded and then commentary done over or presented in some way for the Premodern fans to view. So Flint, you were actually one of the participants in the Super Gauntlet last year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Or as Chris Farley would say, that is correct.
Okay. So have you filled out your bracket yet?
I have not. So
All right.
I looked at the pairings earlier today, but it's on my to-do list.
All right. I did one before the stream started. I will admit that there were some decks that I feel like traditionally would be an underdog, but I picked them because of the matchup. I will say that I have Fluctuator going farther in the bracket than I normally would think.
Yeah.
But there are some interesting matchups, and I took a little bit of risks. I don't know. I know when we started last year, nearly everyone's bracket was busted like immediately. So maybe with me going out on a limb, I can get some of those predictions correct. But it's a fun way, so I encourage all you to fill out that link and follow the Premodern Super Gauntlet. Okay, with that, we're going to take a break as John and Brian get set up. I'm going to roll a few of our ads, as we call it, and we will be back shortly. All right, everybody, thank you for waiting. We now have John and Brian set up for our match. So let's head down to our ban screen. We can talk about what decks are available. John has Survival Elves, Star Spangled Slaughter, and Prison Oath are the 3 decks that he has brought to the Premodern Showdown Series. He will not be playing the Star Spangled Slaughter tonight. That has been banned. Brian has brought 4-color Terragon, Survival Elves, and traditional Sligh. We saw the 5-color Sligh. He's just got good old regular Sligh. So he will not be playing 4-color Terragon.
Good old regular Sligh.
Yes. All right, Flint. You gotta pick yourself up after last prediction.
No, this is my off night. I am out, so I'm just gonna roll a 2-sided die here, also known as flipping a coin, and I'm gonna say elves on elves.
Okay. I'll talk it up. So elves have not been banned by either player. We have not seen elves yet. 4 of the players have brought elves. Will they be played? Let's find out. Go over to the decks. John has elected to play Prison Oath, so no elves for John.
Dagnammit.
He will be playing Prison Oath, so if you're not familiar with this deck, there's kind of 2 elements. One is Oath of Druids, a very simple card of 2-mana enchantment. If your opponent has, or if a player has more creatures, the other player can flip over cards until they hit a creature and puts it right into play. The only creature John has in his deck is Phantom Neshoba, this powerful 7-drop that is hard to kill with damage and tramples and gains life. Big monster. The other element is kind of this prison element with Sphere of Resistance, makes spells cost more. There's Wastelands and Rishadan ports, slow them down. So that's element 2. And the rest of it just kind of fills the role of preventing them from dying, like Swords of Plowshares, or kind of set things up with Sylvan Library. There's a lot of lands. It usually wins with either oathing up in Neshoba, but it still can win with Mishra's Factory and Treetop Village. There have been times I played against this deck. The game went many turns, and I played against it, and I never cast a spell. Sphere Resistance can come down on turn 1, and turn 2, and turn 3, and then you can just die. So lots of things can happen with the Prison Oath deck. And then Brian will be playing tonight with Sligh. So still no elves, so fans of the Little Green Men will have to wait until another week. But we get to see the traditional Sligh deck. We just saw the 5-color Sligh. So we'll see kind of how the traditional version will match up against this Prison Oath. If you have a prediction, what is going to happen in this matchup, do you think, Flint?
I think that we know Brian's on the play, so he's probably going to play a turn 1 creature and then immediately kill his own creature or sack it if it's a Monk Fanatic in response to an oath that potentially comes down, and then he's going to try to win with damage.
Okay. So I'll jump over to key cards of this matchup. So Oath of Druids is pretty important in the Prison Oath deck. Not only if it's just like not in play, but just knowing that it exists in the deck, I think will change the way that Brian plays. He'll be hesitant to deploy a card like Jackal Pup if he doesn't have a way to remove his own creature, because if a Phantom Neshoba comes down, I don't expect him to win. And then the other half of Sphere Resistance, just slowing down the Sligh deck will probably make it more likely for John to win. And so that seems pretty typical that you call it Prison Oath, and the Prison Element and the Oath are the important cards. There is a copy of Circle Protection Red in the sideboard. I guess that's something to note, and I think there is either 1 or 2 copies of Inline Tutor to get it. But these are the elements I would expect to see in more of the matchups just because they're of higher quantities. On Brian's side, I'm not exactly sure how important like the creature is, but like a card like Ball Lightning is nice because it is a big chunk of damage and it's a creature that doesn't stay in play. So I can see situations where Brian is not trying to play creatures, but he's still fine casting a Ball Lightning. And then out of the sideboard, there's 3 copies of Price of Progress. With given how many non-basics John has and how many lands he has, and the games tend to go long, I think Price will be very good. So let's jump on over to the match as Flint awkwardly admires his drink that he just received. Let's.
'Twas a healthy pour.
All right. It was the quantity, not the quality, is what you're judging. Okay. I will throw up a prediction. You need to let the players know what's going on.
Done. Looks like John's taking 1 mulligan and Brian took 2.
Okay. All right. The prediction is up, so get your votes in. And again, if you haven't, fill out. You should have done this during the break if you didn't, but fill out a bracket for the Super Gauntlet. I guess I didn't mention, but it did note on our slides that there's not much time to fill it out because it will be starting soon. Okay, in this match, we had a turn 1 Mog Fanatic deployed. So that's a nice creature that can be sacrificed if Oath of Druids comes into play.
That's right.
But then the land that Brian had was Barbarian Ring, and that got wastelanded. So, I mean, to me that would indicate that he didn't have any other lands, because that typically would not be the one that I would lead off with. So
Definitely.
But
And he does squeak a curse scroll into play.
and he does have a mountain right away. So
Mhm.
so John has started developing his mana on turn 1. It was with Mox Diamond, and now he has a Mishra's Factory. Comic Flop says, time to gamble some major points. I'm counting on this. He
Do
predicted
it.
that the Sligh deck in Brian Durkin's hands will win. Okay. So Brian attacks with the Mog Fanatic, and John elects to activate the Mishra's Factory. So either he's okay with losing his land, or if he's calling Brian on his bluff, but there is a bolt waiting that will take out the land for John, and the Mog Fanatic gets in for damage.
Phil says, if the leading Oath and Sligh players both are saying that Sligh is favorite here, you can bet that I dumped my 10 points with John. Nice Soul Cleansing here for that scroll rack in case he needs it. No need yet, but good insurance.
Did you say Scroll Rack? I think you meant Sulfuric Vortex.
Scroll rack. Curse scroll. I meant
Curse Scroll. Okay, all right.
So we both goofed.
All right. Well, I just thought you were talking about a different card. So.
No.
Do you think Sligh is ever going to evolve to a point where I wonder? Do you think James ever considered putting Scroll Rack in his deck?
1 land tax and 1 scroll rack.
Yeah.
Rainbow Sligh tax.
All right. So the Seal of Cleansing is used on the Curse Scroll. John is at 17 life.
All right, Absolute GP already voted all the matches for the Super Gauntlet. Absolutely. I know we sound like a broken record, but definitely go in and vote. Make your predictions. Is there a prize for best bracket? Mike Arnold, if you're in chat.
Yeah. I don't know if anything's formally been announced, but I guess I will add that if you do end up, if someone's like watching this on YouTube and the brackets are already closed, they had done it in the past of once it gets to a certain point, they do another one with the remaining decks. So you might still have an opportunity to participate if you missed the initial one. But I still would recommend getting in right now with all 64 decks and see how well you can do. All right, back in the match, we have Sulfuric Vortex deployed. So not a scroll rack, not a curse scroll, Sulfuric Vortex. This seems like a problem for John.
Seems good. John choosing to get that Seal Cleansing back in the deck. Mike Arnold says nothing official yet, but bragging rights for now, which is in the spirit of the Premodern Monthlies as well as the Showdown series here.
All right, so with the Sulfuric Vortex in play, Brian is theoretically always ahead of the game. So John needs to either remove it pretty quickly, or he can try and... I guess he has a Treetop Village that does do a good chunk of damage. Oh, there is a Seal Cleansing. All right, he's found an answer.
Obviously going to wait until Brian takes a little bit of pain himself.
All right. All these life totals are changing and I'm falling behind. Looks like John is at 11 and Brian's at 13.
Yeah, so we do see the crack of the seal to get rid of Vortex.
Okay. So when these games go long, as they kind of inevitably will, I think, because Brian is going to do his best not to trigger Oath, do you think that gives an advantage to Brian, or do you think John will be able to... Because it's almost like the burn spells that Brian draws. I guess he could draw cards like Jackal Pup or Grim Lavamancer, but if John's attacking with creatures, I feel like Brian can use those spells on the creatures, and if he waits too long, then John's just going to die to burn. It seems like a tricky spot for John to navigate. But there's a Sphere of Resistance. I do think that helps because that makes the burn plan from Brian a little bit more difficult.
Nice.
So. Brian has had a lot of mana. Again, with the Sligh deck, with, I guess, I don't know exactly what turn we're on, but with 5 mana from the Sligh deck, and I know one of his lands got wastelanded, so I think he's got 1 card in hand. Is it a Ball Lightning? I guess Ball Lightning not as effective when there's a Core Haven in play. That was a card I forgot that was in the list, but this pseudo Mazavith is pretty good against Ball Lightning.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, a couple of Bog Fanatics are attacking. So this leaves John with a decision. I guess he's debating whether he wants to use the Windswept Heath and use Core Haven to save a life, but it's possible he wants that to be a forest, or it's just not worth fetching because he just takes the damage. I mean, he would have to pay a life to crack the Windswept Heath anyway, so... Oh, Brian is... Oh, yeah. Okay, the Oath is in play. I'm like... I thought he was going for something, but yeah, it definitely makes sense to get rid of those Mug Fanatics so that the Oath of Druids doesn't trigger.
But there's the Funeral Pyre.
Okay, so the Sulfuric Vortex gets exiled. I'll bring up Funeral Pyre because that's not a card that maybe everyone is familiar with, but this is a card that the Oath deck's play is a way to ensure that you have a way to trigger when your Oath of Druids when your opponent is not playing any creatures or keeping any creatures in play. So you target a card in your opponent's graveyard, it gives them a 1/1, and then you have they have a creature to trigger Oath. So Phantom Neshoba is in play, and I no longer like Brian's chances. I thought things were looking pretty good, and with this Neshoba in play,
Are the life totals swapped on the stream? Is John at 7 and Brian at 13?
I do have them switched.
Oh.
Thank you. So I will expect those life totals to kind of flip in the next turn. So he's at 11. Okay, I thought he was at 13, and it should have been 3 from the Treetop Village, but I'm sure I missed something. So a Grim Lavamancer has been brought into play via Oath. Doesn't quite stand up to the Phantom Neshoba that well.
No, not so much. He's going to play a second one. Oh, as soon as John starts gaining life here, this game's going to get out of hand real fast.
And with a second creature that's going to trigger Oath. Oh, he only took 2 damage because he blocked with the Spirit token. All right.
Yeah.
That's why he only went down 2. I got it. I was looking for the Spirit token, and when I didn't see it in play, then it made sense. So John is going to activate Oath. The only creatures in his deck right now are Phantom Neshoba, so he will get a second one. And I don't know what Brian can do from this spot. I guess if Sulfur Vortex were in play, that'd be something, but there we see it. Another cat beast. I don't know what the actual. Oh jeez, as I spill something. Another cat beast spirit is in play.
Yeah, Brian's in a tough spot here.
I'm gonna go quick grab something to clean up my mess.
I got it. Chat lamenting potential loss of match points here, given the turn in the tide. All right, so here comes the cavalry, or the cavalry, if you will. Village and Neshoba come in. What do we see from Brian? It looks like he's just going to take it all and go to 1. John's going to go up to 13 here. Brian's going to draw. He's going to show some lands, and he's going to scoop it up. All right. We're going to go to game 2, Mike.
Okay.
John takes down game 1.
All right. So let's look at sideboard options for the players. The Oath deck, it has Circle Protections of Red stands out. A card like Ravenous Bailout is something that could come in, but I guess that's something you could just like cast, because I don't know how, like, if you are reliably going to be able to trigger Oath in this matchup. And maybe you just want like a 4/4 that can either attack or gain life. What other cards seem exciting? None of the other ones really seem that exciting to me.
Yeah, not great. I definitely like the Bailoffs and the COP.
Okay, so you would bring in the Bailoffs?
Never played this deck. Well, what do you take out?
I spilled beer. The only cards that soaked up the damage were 2 Circle of Protection Reds, so kind of fitting for this matchup.
Doing good work even outside of the game.
Yes.
Hopefully they weren't beta.
No, if they were revised, so.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have
Oh,
my camera up, but Flint got to see them, so
I do. They look all right. It'll buff out.
yeah.
It'll buff out.
I'll pay the 10 cents to get some new copies.
Yeah. What does he take out, folks? If you're looking at this, are we taking out some
You can
Sylvan
take out, like,
libraries?
or a Guy's Blessing isn't probably necessarily needed. I'll bring up the slide deck. I think maybe we
Yeah,
can.
bring it in.
Price of Progress. That one's coming in. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good card.
Yes.
The
Does anything else look exciting? I mean,
not really.
it seems very niche, but like Lava Dart is a way to
I was thinking of that.
kill a Funeral Pyre, but I don't know if that's the right approach to this matchup. Because one damage does not go a long way. But
I think I would take a pop out for a lava dart.
yeah, I guess also like, well, I guess if you're triggering Oath, then it's already too late. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would take out 4 pops and maybe 2 lava mancers, maybe 3, and put in the prices and the lava darts. That's probably what I would do.
See if Brian could sideboard all his creatures out, and then he would mill his entire deck, and for sure get 3 Lava Darts, and then just have a free bolt if he had 3 mountains. But
Ooh,
there's
now
too
we're
many
talking.
creatures.
Oh, damn you, hindsight. Damn you.
High value on Hoip sign, Circle Protection Red, made famous by the stream beer damage. It's
They're now Circle of Protection Red Ale.
yeah. It was a vanilla porter though that spilled, so maybe they can also. It's like a Circle Protection White and Red.
Or Artifact. It's brown.
It's true. Well, I'm just thinking vanilla.
Oh, fair enough. All right. I'll let them know that they can get started whenever they're ready on game 2.
Okay. So Brian did not have to kill his own creature in that last game. Though he would have liked to, because he would have been able to kill that spirit token, but he didn't have the burn spell ready for when that came down. But that's kind of an interesting game of like, if Brian just always keeps cards in his hand, John kind of has to respect it being a burn spell, and if he is going for that Funeral Pyre plan, it can just be foiled. So I think in most games, I think Brian mulliganing to 5 hurt him in that spot that he just didn't have as many resources to work with. But I think a lot of the time you would not expect that Funeral Pyre token to stick around. All right. So Price of Progress is a very good card. Do you think it is enough for Brian to steal a game from the Prison Oath deck?
Definitely can be. It's a lot of damage late game.
Yeah, and I know the Prison Oath deck does tend to play a lot of lands if the games go a number of turns. It is, I don't know if mana hungry. It has a way of utilizing all its mana, so a lot of times it always likes to hit its land drops, whether it's ports or man lands or just having more mana in play because of sphere resistance. There's a lot of reasons why it has to play a bunch of lands. So
we do see a port. I mean, turn 2 is such a crucial turn for Prison Oath, right? They can play 2 key cards, spheres, oaths. We see a pass and a port from John, and nothing from Brian. I mean, obviously he's not going to play creatures other than perhaps Mog Fanatic in the early turns, so maybe just a grip full of ball lightnings.
that's a possibility.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying a Mishra's Factory is coming down, so another creature that can block for John. But also, I guess at some point it's probably going to be attacking.
One might say winter is coming.
Yes.
No white mana for swords, though. Brian still can't ball lightning this turn, but still.
So 2 fetches are being used so that he can get 2 lands. So he does have enough for Ball Lightning. This would be an opportune moment to cast it
Sure would.
because of the absence of white mana, as you said. I'll bring up, I think it's the 5th edition one. Is that the one that has the beatdown art? Nope, 6th edition.
I think it might be 6th. 5th has the same as 4th, I believe.
Oh no, there's wasn't in 6. I guess it's just beatdown. I can't bring up. I guess I can't bring up that art. I kind of like that one. It's fun to. It's cool. It's like a little like screaming face. It's almost like the Channel Fireball logo.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
That's a Circle of Protection red.
Sure is.
So that does not bode well for Brian, predictors of Brian, fans of Sligh. His route to victory. So when you're playing the Sligh deck, and it's especially hard against a deck like Oath, because a lot of times what you want to do is play to the board, have sources of damage that are recurring, that your opponent either needs to pay mana to prevent damages from a Jackal Pup, a Mog Fanatic, or you chip in for a little bit of damage. Well, Brian is disincentivized to do that because of Oath. And so it's likely that John is going to be able to keep up mana a lot of the time. And Brian is going to have to figure out a way, I guess, like Curse Scroll is really his only way to chip damage. But the problem is like when he's keeping so many cards in his hand because he doesn't just want to point a bolt at John because it's just going to get prevented by 1 mana. Curse Scroll isn't even very effective because there's going to be so many cards in his hand. So I do not like Brian's chances at all from this position.
Yeah. And he's not running Anarchy, right? I don't think I saw it in the list when we were talking about it. No, he's not. So really, Cursed Scroll is his
But
only way to victory.
I still don't think it's a reasonable path because he's just going to have so many cards in his hand.
Yeah. Really tough spot. And there's a Sphere as well, which is going to contribute to even more cards in hand. Yeah, John is sitting pretty.
Yeah, like without the Circle Protection rather than I think Brian has like a decent shot because if the game goes long, burn spells can just deal a bunch of damage and Price of Progress can steal a game out of nowhere. But with that circle, here's a is this a flashback? Oh no, cost 1 more. It's a lava dart.
John says, "You got me."
Yeah, I guess
I'll take the point.
All right, I guess I have the life totals a little bit down. John, I didn't have the Ball Lightning damage in. John's at 13. Still looking pretty good for the Personal player.
Jess is king. Chat's right, up to. So you can target 0 cards. And then.
Are we talking about Gaia's Blessing?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, we see a shock targeting the Mistress Factory. Circle Protection red can't protect against that. So the land will die, but it's kind of just I don't even know what Brian's looking for, like what situation. John is going to have to do something that is a big mistake, I would say, if he ends up losing this game. All right, we see a second sphere added to the board. And a lava dart will be cast in response. Maybe he'll just be able to cast lava dart like a million times, and John just won't ever pay the mana then. Yeah, this is real hard because now, like at one point you might think, oh, there's a position maybe where John has to use some of his mana to attack. Well, then I can just deploy a bunch of burn spells. The first 2 get prevented by Circle Protection red, and then the other ones come through. With 2 Sphere of Resistance in play, you're not going to be able to deploy very many spells in 1 turn. So now we got to find ways to keep you entertained as John is going to chip away at Brian's life total and finish off this game. So I'll remind everyone, fill out a bracket for the Premodern Super Gauntlet. Even if you could just minimize this and fill it out, and you could just listen to us, because I'm gonna bet that John's gonna win this game.
It's looking pretty good. So I'll tell you what. So I don't know if did you listen to the most recent episode of the Premodcast?
I did, which
So
Flint was on. If
I was
people-
on it.
yes,
Yeah, they're desperate for hosts or for guests. So there I was, bottom of the barrel selected. Regardless, we decided that the red, white, blue, Patriot, whatever, Star Spangled Slaughter deck should just be called War Angels. So
yeah, I
what
was
does
about to
chat
I was about to
think?
mute you right there. So yeah, I'm not a
War
fan.
Angels, huh? War
I mean,
Angels? Anyone? Can
I
I get
can-
some love for War Angels in chat?
All right, I'll throw in my 2 cents. First of all, Star Spangled Slaughter was a deck. It was when like those cards, when it was Lightning Angel, Fire Ice, Meddling Mage were all in a deck, and that was played. The argument of Angel Fire, to me that refers to Fire Main Angel and Demon Fire. That's like the Angel and the Fire part. I guess you could argue that Fire Ice is the Fire, but until like the blue white red deck plays like a Blaze or a Gitu Fire, I don't want to call it Angel Fire. I'm fine if you call it Patriot. I think that's reasonable. Even if you called it, I don't know, French Angel or whatever, but we're Angel kind of just made my skin crawl.
But Jared just representing in chat here. War Angels.
Yeah.
Comical flop, very nice.
Also, like, people argue that we can't use Jessica because it's pre-modern, but we call it Esper Stifle Knot. So, I mean, there's not much.
You call it Esper Stifle Knot.
I didn't
clearly
name it.
you.
I did not name it that. I think actually, didn't Jared name that deck? Is it like that the ironic part? But I'm not sure.
Jared, defend yourself in chat. Obviously, as I said before, I don't really care, but I did think the name War Angels was pretty funny, at least.
I think it's only funny because it sounds so awkward.
Super awkward.
But yes.
So anyway, War Angels it is. Moving on.
Oh, Flint's connection seems to be cutting out. I don't know.
And we've lost Flint. Rest in peace.
Yes.
It's actually Wubnot. I actually don't like Angel Fire because that was a later name when Ravnica was around, and to me that seems a little further from the pre-modern era, if anything. But
well, the things that the angel and the fire are like elements that are not in the deck. Like, I don't know, the Fire Rain Angel was like a very like the relevance of it gaining life was like really important, I think, actually.
so Comical Flop isn't the blue, white, black deck named Base Eruption?
I'm not familiar with the deck named
Not
Base
familiar either.
Eruption. The winner of the Super Gauntlet bracket to decide what to name it. I mean, I don't even know if I'd. I don't know. Maybe we could.
I think Remy just needs to say this is what I'm calling it because, I mean, to my knowledge, he created the deck.
Oh, he didn't create it for sure. It was played.
Pre-modern version of the deck.
People played it way before he did.
Did he popularize it? Could
Sure.
we argue?
Yeah, you could argue that, but
And he tuned it as well. Made it work. Oh wait, Comical Flop has got one. Here we go. Drum roll, please.
he's typing. It's gonna take a while.
Oh, wait for it. Wait for it. It is Lightning Angel deck, Bouncing Beebles. Okay.
The world doesn't need more bouncing peoples, that's for sure. Aaron says anything but solution.
A lot of people feel very vehemently that it shouldn't be solution just based on this V deck.
I might change my argument to anything but war angels. So
So Phil's gonna persuade Remy to give his blessing for the winner of the bracket challenge to name the deck. Oh
I don't-
God, it could be Angel McAngel Face.
that would I would enjoy that. We got a little culture out of there, so
All right, what's going on in this game, Mike? Catch us up to speed.
I'm not sure. I saw a shock pointed, but I don't know what it was pointed at. But the life totals haven't changed, so I don't know. I don't think a lot has changed. A curse scroll is in play. Oh, a sphere resistance got overloaded. I'm like, I was looking at Incinerate, and I was trying to figure out how I got cast for 3 mana. Angel McAngel Face. I think that might be my favorite one. My favorite solution to this problem.
No. All right. All apologies to the players here. I know we're straying a little bit, but that's the nature of present decks.
Yes.
Great card.
I guess now that I reset my commands, you can type decks, and that will give you a link to not only all the decks for the Premodern Showdown Series 3, but I have tabs for Premodern Showdown Series 2 and 1 on that same sheet.
I noticed that, and I like that a lot. It's really nice to see them all together in one place.
Yes, it saves me a little bit of work, and if you want to look at a little bit of history, you can see the decks that people played. So,
and if you didn't tune in for Series 2, please go watch it. But you should know it was a Spice Fest, so we asked a lot of brewers to participate that season and build decks that were a little bit outside of our typical pre-modern parameters. So basically, you're going to have to look up a lot of cards if you view those lists.
Yes, for sure. Fairy Noble or... Oh, I don't think anyone has said my secret code word. Flint's confused.
I'm reading Phil's comment here. Oh, goodness. Sorry, Mike, what were you saying? Code word?
Oh, yeah, I had a secret code word and to test everyone. I don't think anyone has said it, so I put it in one of my posts. It was a test to see how much people actually read it or not.
Some of us work all day, Michael, and we don't have time for the Facebook.
I did it after working hours, so.
He's just saying that because his boss tunes in.
I'd be impressed if she did.
That'd be pretty cool.
All right. I think John is starting to attack.
Yep.
So, what's Brian's life total at? 14. A clock has initiated. There's a lot of treetop villages there, so a flame rift that John's thinking, he's like, do I want this flame rift to resolve? Because
Brian's just like, I gotta get cards out of my hand.
Which set is that from? Nemesis? Prophecy?
I think so.
Nemesis, I think. Yes.
Comical flop. You should have left it as 2022. It would and not said 2021. So Brian's down to
Oh, 10.
12,
10.
10.
So, yeah, this is probably like a record for us, like, that we just don't need to commentate on this game.
We haven't had a lot of prison decks though, right? I don't. Did anyone run Pink Prison in Series 1? I don't think anyone did.
No. I mean, we've seen this. I mean, we had Stasis and whatnot, but
Yeah.
at least, like, there's a hope from, like, some of those decks for to do something. And here we see a Phantom Neshoba getting cast for 8 mana, even though there's an Oath of Druids in play. So John says, you can have whatever creature you want. I'll give you a free creature. I'm going to put my giant cat beast spirit thing into play and finish you off a little bit quicker.
I'll even leave just 1 mana untapped for my Circle of Protection red. Like, do your worst.
Well, I guess if you had Price of Progress, untap Price of Progress. No, it's a bolt. Maybe this bolt, and I mean, I
John's
think you have to take it, yeah, because he actually could die here, right? Oh, there's another mana source. All right, maybe.
Yeah,
not
John's
then.
got 2 untapped lands.
Okay, then I don't see him losing this game. I would say if there's only one, then Brian could in theory have 2 Price of Progress.
Yeah.
But
Comical flop. There's no anarchy in Brian's sideboard.
are we sure on that?
I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Nope, not there.
All right. Anarchy would be good here. Is there Flaring Pain?
There is no Flaring Pain.
Oh man, I always like that one. I don't
It's a
know
cool
why.
card.
Do you think Psychotog should play it so that when a pile driver blocks it, it can kill it?
Definitely. Seems good.
Comical flop is sad that he put all his eggs in the Sligh basket for his prediction, and things are not going his way. All right, where are we at? So the Mog Fanatic was put into play because of Oath of Druids.
Yep. And nothing has changed unless Brian's screen is frozen.
I don't think. Oh, maybe John's checking, but yeah, I don't think Brian can do anything.
Uh-oh, Comical flop. Did you go all in on Sligh?
I think he did. I think he said that before.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. You can earn more back. All you gotta do is watch.
I almost just did the sad trombone and then remembered I had that button.
Just think of it as a donation to somebody else. Like a less dedicated viewer now has some of your points.
So they can tune in and bet those points that you so graciously gave them.
Yeah. Yeah, with this game going so long, I already earned my points back.
Touche. So I see some movement on Brian's screen. I guess he's thinking.
I am confused on what he could be considering, I guess. Because it seems like a difficult situation for the red deck.
Do we know how many cards he has in his hand? I mean,
It's got to be a lot, right? I mean, there are a bunch of cards in the graveyard.
there's a sphere in play. I mean, I feel like his options are just so truncated here.
We do have subscription from Caffeinated, so thank you,
Thanks,
Aaron.
Aaron. Woo! Play a little Diablo 2 with Aaron today.
Oh, I thought you were
Good
going to say that you
times.
booted up Diablo 2 right now.
I actually have, but don't tell our viewers.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I should bring this up because this was brought up in the pre-modcast. Because if you're not aware how Twitch Prime works, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, then you can link your Twitch account with your Amazon Prime, and you get every month you get a Prime subscription that is at no cost to you. You're able to subscribe to one Twitch channel. And so if you want to support any pre-modern Twitch channel, you can do that. Just as a reminder, you do need to manually resubscribe to anything as compared to a paid subscription. You can just have it automatically resubscribe. With the Twitch Prime subscription, you do have to log back in after it has expired and subscribe again. So just letting for the know, because there are people that are unaware of that. I know I'm very tuned into the Twitch world, and I've heard that a lot. So I had forgotten that there might be people that maybe don't watch as much Twitch as I do and aren't aware of Twitch Prime. So something if you're not aware of, something you can learn about. Are they messaging us?
I just was checking in with the players just to make sure everything was okay. And Brian just said he was doing some math, but it looks like he is going to concede at this point.
All right. I guess fire blast math. Okay. All right. I guess that was not a card I considered. I guess it was like closer than I thought, because I mean, if you could deal 4 points of damage.
You could do 9, but 2 can be prevented.
Well, the fire blast would have to be prevented, and then
Yeah.
Curse Scroll, you might get an activation, and then a bolt and a Mog Fanatic. 1, 2, 5, 6, 6. So that was actually pretty reasonably close, I guess. So, but the result is still what we expected. That the Prison Oath was able to lock out the burn player. So let's jump in and listen to the players. Maybe they break down what happened in those games.
Yep.
Hello, players. Can you hear me?
Hello.
All right. Well, that Circle Protection of Red is pretty tough for you to beat, Brian.
Yeah, I tried, but yeah.
Breaking red players' hearts since the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was a possibility, but there's only one in the sideboard, and there's only like 2, I think, in Latent Tutors. So I was hoping it'd be, or only 1 in Latent Tutor actually. So there's really only 2 copies in the whole deck. So
Yeah, and you can't really do much about it. I guess the one thing that kind of stings even more is a lot of times the way a red deck would beat Circle Protection Red is just start playing like Jackal Pups and Mog Fanatics and like attacking every turn, and then they have to make the decision of whether they take a little bit of damage or they tap their mana, and then you can fling the burn spells. But with a Oath of Druids in play, you can't do that. So it's kind of like you're at a position of like, what am I gonna do?
yeah.
We were hoping on like maybe there's a spot where, I mean, like when John tapped a bunch of mana, that like Price of Progresses fly everywhere. You have all 3. You're able to like cast 1 at the end of turn, and he prevents it, and then 2 more come. But it was not meant to be. So
Yeah, no, totally. It was really close there at the end. It's so funny. If I drew like the other Overload, like if he had no sphere effects, he was dead, like from playing the Nashoba. But he would have played the Nashoba without a sphere because he knows he needs John knows that he needs the protection. But yeah, it was just rough. Like I mean, normally I probably would have just conceded the turn it came down, but I wanted to play it out to not have the stream end too early.
Well, I guess we were. I mean, to be honest, we were kind of talking about things for a lot of the rest of that game. Like after that circle came down and things got kind of locked up, we weren't focusing as much. But when you were thinking for so long, we weren't sure. It's kind of like how many decisions do you have to make because we didn't think that there was really any way for you to win. But kind of when you showed your hand, it was. I mean, the fire blast would have got prevented, and then you could have bolted and Mog Fanatic and Curse Scrolled, I think. So you could have dealt 6, and he was at 8. So you were pretty close.
Yeah. Well, I had the two lava darts in the yard. So
Oh, okay.
when I randomly pinged him, so I did have like 2 different ways. The problem is I didn't have enough mana.
Sure.
I needed 2 more mana to beat the sphere in order to do that. Or the yeah, and I don't think there's anything else to draw. And of course, like I hit the best creature off of Oath, but then the first card I milled, which would have been what I drew, was Sulfuric Vortex, which was stopped for the life gain, which was like such a salt the wounds because it's like if I mean, you're supposed to Oath there, like I mean, it'd be crazy not to because the Mog Fanatic was like free damage, but yeah, that was kind of crazy because if I had the Vortex, I wouldn't have died. Like he wouldn't have gained life, and then I was sitting on like bolts and other random nonsense to make sure I wouldn't die to the man lands. So yeah, but and then I could always like the nice part about Lava Dart too is it's like I can always just shrink the Nashoba down to like a 2/2 or something that's like not that scary, and then I can keep getting like free creatures.
So, have you guys played this matchup before from either perspective, the Prison Oath against Sligh? Because I guess when I looked at it on paper, I thought like Sligh had reasonable tools to beat it just because the Oath deck doesn't all like if you're not triggering Oath, you don't kill that quickly, and you might just be able to build up a collection of burn spells to take them out.
Yeah, no, totally. That was my theory. I was like, I didn't. Once I left Oath as one of the decks, I was like, I'm definitely playing Sligh, and I knew John was gonna ban Terrageddon, and like, yeah, I think since you can go to the dome and like not rely on your creatures, and in the sideboard, I just boarded out all 8 creatures that don't kill themselves. So I only had Mog Fanatic and Ball Lightning, so that way I couldn't accidentally just like make it easy for his Oath to trigger. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, like if there's no double sphere, if I have 2 artifact killers, like the first game was pretty heartbreaking. Like I mulled a 5, I flooded out. He found Seal Cleansing again after I had Vortex, so it was just rough. But yeah, I agree. I think like I think that the 2 games we played, like it shows the power of both because it is a really really powerful deck. It's a tier 1 deck, but I wouldn't walk away saying like Sligh can't win the matchup.
Okay. Is that kind of your impression too, John, or is there different opinions that you have?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a terrible. I think Oath is favored slightly, especially post board with the 3 ballots coming in. But I mean, it's a fairly close matchup, I think, especially with the price of progress. Like, I have to, basically either play around it or hope to draw the cop.
All right, cool. I don't know if we had any questions from the chat. I'm just scrolling up. I know someone put all their channel points on you, Brian, and so they were sad that you weren't able to pull it out. But
I tried. I didn't even scoop to Cop Red, so I didn't know that was going on. But
seeing your hand at the end of the game, it was much closer than Flint or I gave credit for, because like once John had a number of lands in play and a circle protection, I just said, I looked at your list and I'm like, I don't think there's anything you could do. Like and you're not even going to be able to deal damage with Curse Scroll because the cards are going to stack up in your hand. So it was just there's no good way for you to do anything. But
yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, I mean, John's such a good player. I don't think he would have fell for it, but it's like I had to name Fire Blast with Curse Scroll for like the random chip damage because I had 2 Fire Blasts. But if I don't do that, then maybe like he doesn't take his time and is extra patient, right? Because once I name that, it's like, oh well, Brian must have at least one, if not two, right? So
Sure.
I'm kind of like revealing a
Yep.
lot in my hand at that point. But I was so desperate, like I gotta go for the 40% as opposed to the 20% to hit Chris roll, and yeah, it was and Burn and Sligh. It does have sort of a combo feel. Like you can just stack up all the spells and just go all in and overload the cop red if they happen to tap a bunch of mana for stuff.
You didn't want to just tap it and just name Price of Progress and just put the fear in them.
That's actually an interesting concept. I didn't think about it in the match, but like, there's a chance that that's correct. Although I guess the problem with that is then he'll like never cast the show.
Yeah, I think the game just takes
Yeah.
longer by the result of that. I think that's what happens. But yeah.
But that is fun though. If I wanted my match to go as long as last week,
Just name Anarchy and really mess with it. Even though it's not even in your deck.
No, sure. Yeah, I should just name it.
Yeah. I always wish that like there was a little bit more of a mind game to Curse Girl, but it's often you just do what's best in that situation. But it would be fun if there was a card where you could kind of bluff those situations and get a benefit out of it. But yeah. All right. If you guys have anything to add, I guess now you can. Otherwise, we'll let you go and we'll wrap things up for the evening.
No, congrats, John. Your lifetime XO against me. I was hoping to get some revenge when you beat me in the finals of the monthly, but
Yep.
you reign supreme still. So maybe we'll meet again in the playoffs for this.
I don't think you're alone in that John has your number. I think there's a number of people that struggle to beat John, and it's not a coincidence. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats, John. Better luck next week, Brian.
Yep. Thanks. Congrats, John.
Cheers.
See ya.
all right. So we'll bring up our schedule. We'll look ahead of what we have in store next week. On Tuesday, we have Aaron playing James for our first match, and then we have Jared up against Tom Metelsky for the late night match. So that will be next week on Tuesday. Again, we start at the same time at 10 p.m. Eastern. I do want to remind everybody to fill out a bracket for the Premodern Super Gauntlet if you haven't already. And then I also want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor in CardSphere. It is a great resource to buy, trade, and sell paper Magic cards. If you're not familiar with the service, it is something that you can do of trading cards, and it doesn't have to be one-to-one. You can trade to one person and then use the credit that you get from that trade to get cards from a different person. So really cool service. So you should check out CardSphere. They're sponsoring us this season, and we're thankful for that. Wrapping up tonight, we had some red decks played, and we still have not seen the Elves deck. So I'm going to keep pushing that narrative as long as I can. The public enemy number one has either, and I mean, I wouldn't even say that it's been banned more than it hasn't. It's been close to like 50-50. No one has brought Elves. So I don't know if it's just the way that the matchups have lined up. They just think that their other decks are better suited for what would be coming, but we have not seen Elves yet. So I think that's something I'm looking forward to, and we'll see if we can see that in our next week. But going back to the matches here, we had one red deck come away with the win with a bunch of sideboard cards, and then the other red deck fall to sideboard cards from the Prison Oath deck. So sideboarding was pretty key in these matchups. Is there anything you want to add, Flint, before we call it a night?
I would just say that what we're probably seeing is something similar to what happened in the first series where everyone was scared of Sligh and prepped for it. It's just this time more people brought Elves than people brought Sligh in the first series, but given that so many decks are prepared for it, we're probably not seeing it banned and played as much. I do hope to see it. I would like to showcase it for our viewers because it is such a powerful deck. But regardless, we'll see how it plays out. The games were still good tonight, even though there was a prison strategy. I do think it lends an interesting element of gameplay that maybe people aren't familiar with. Maybe they haven't seen the Oath Prison deck. And then in terms of plugs, in addition to CardSphere, obviously we want to plug our good friends of the show. So check out 90s MTG, check out All Things Considered, check out the Premodcast. joined the Facebook Premodern group, joined the Facebook Premodern online play group, joined the Discord, and come and play with us. It's a fun format, really good community, and if you're new to it, we hope to see you there.
All right. That will wrap everything that we have for tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for the subscriptions, the follows, any way that you guys can support us. It is appreciated. But with that, I want to say good night and take care.
Night, everybody.